Talking Tide and talking SEC titles, the way things are going in Tuscaloosa these days. Bama coming off a huge win over LSU to put themselves in prime position, complete control of the SEC Western Division with a huge second half against Jaden Daniels and company. We got Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama on the line. In my own words, it's the show you need to lock in on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, 6:30 Central Time. Stephen, what's going on today?
Going good, Mark. Going good. Crimson Tide getting that 42-28 win over MSU. Jaden Daniels and company. Coach Saban getting that 72nd birthday present that he wanted, which was the win there over MSU. The fans provided the crowd noise, the excitement, the atmosphere. We saw Jalen Milroe become the first quarterback in Tide history to have 4 rushing touchdowns in a football game. Coach Saban mentioned that to this point, the most complete game he has seen his team play on both sides of the ball, primarily their own offense. So not a good coming from the matchup there against MSU.
Well, let's stay right there with Jalen Milroe because we've talked about it in recent weeks. He just gets better and better and better. They obviously have figured out how he needs to be utilized. And it's just remarkable to see him blossom and grow and become so confident and so sure of himself in recent weeks. And we're talking about a quarterback who had some turnover issues against Texas, was benched the next week in favor of Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson. And now there's even some Heisman talk out there. And I believe it's justified, maybe not in regards to a resume from start to finish, but the way he's playing football right now, setting a Bama rushing record for touchdowns from a quarterback, it's just been pretty remarkable to see this.
It is, Mark, and it comes back to just the combination of Milroe and Tommy Rees both growing together. I've made this point here on my show. Tommy Rees, when you talk about going from Brian Kelly to arguably the greatest to ever do it in Nick Saban, that's an adjustment. So he's adjusting much like these 4- and 5-star athletes in the sense of understanding Coach Saban, getting a feel for how he likes to do things, trying to bounce different ideas off him. And at the same time, Tommy Rees was wondering, okay, I want to be more creative. I want to call some things. I want to be innovative. But it's this team, and primarily is Jalen Milroe ready to take that step and allow me to do that. And it's been a growing process for this offense. It's been a growing process for Rees and Milroe. But we saw last week that for the first time, it seems like everything has officially come together, from the offensive line to the running game to the receivers to Milroe. And now Tommy Rees finally feels like finally I can let go of this Notre Dame playbook. I can call what I want to call and take advantage of Jalen Milroe's strengths, his strong suits, what he likes to do, get deeper into my thing of creativity. So it's been a joy to watch the growth of offensive coordinator and quarterback.
Stephen mentioned the offensive line and zeroing in just for a second on Caden Proctor. He had his early season struggles. There was 1 or 2 plays in pass pro on Saturday against LSU where he was highlighted from a negative standpoint. He had a whiff and or 2. Has he come along, or is that still a major concern there?
I think he's actually come along too. I mean, I know he had like 1 or 2 plays where he would have liked to have back against MSU, but he also had several plays where you're like, wow, look at how he's grown. He had several key blocks to spring Jace McClellan for big games. Roydell Williams for a touchdown run there. He had several blocks on Jalen Milroe's big runs. He had a lot of big plays in pass pro as well. So he's come a long way in understanding I may make a mistake. I'm young. I'm a freshman. That's going to happen. But the key to the drill, how quickly can you flush it and move on? Don't dwell on it. Flush it, move on to the next play, because there's more football to be played, on the field for 60 minutes. And I think Caden Proctor has gotten the understanding of, somebody may get the better of me on a play, but can I flush it fast and get myself back into the right frame of mind to be better on the next play? And we saw that a lot more against MSU.
Stephen, is this going to be a wide receiver core that's just a nice group that's complementary to each other with different types of body styles and skill sets? Or is there an alpha dog potentially emerging in this group?
There's an alpha dog potentially between Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond, but we're going to have to understand that this is not years past when you had Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. It's not that. It is not that by any sense of the imagination. This is a more complementary group where on any day, Burton could do something, Bond could do something. Kendrick Law, a unique type of athlete, is finally starting to get himself more so involved and incorporate within the offense. Kobe Prentice has game-breaking speed. He's finally getting implemented more. Ja'Cory Brooks, who people have been wondering, where is he? Here's the young man that had 8 touchdown catches a season ago, but has been dealing with a banged-up shoulder this year, which is the reason why we have not seen more of him. So while it's not the Jeudy, Ruggs, Smith, Waddle type of group, it's a very still good, talented, complementary group.
Folks, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama is here. It's always a good time talking Tide with Stephen. Always appreciate him being here. Get the full dose every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube. In my own words, is the show 6:30 Central. Stephen, there was a point late in the first half, early second half. LSU put another touchdown on the board after a impressive, prolific first half. Jalen put another touchdown on the board for Bama. And meanwhile, Michael Penix and Caleb Williams were having their duel, Washington USC, on another network. And it looked like you could kind of channel surf and you were just going to have these quarterback duels on both of them. That's the way it appeared it was going early second half. Like, well, this is going to be in the 50s and it's going to go down to the wire. And at one point, obviously, there were a couple hits on Jaden Daniels that sent him to the sideline and shook him up a bit. But it was also, I understand, Kevin Steele had a tongue lashing for the group at halftime, and that's not necessarily just relegated to this game against LSU. And you know the numbers here, but I want to point them out for everyone. Texas A&M, 3 points in the second half. Tennessee, 0. Mississippi State, 7. Ole Miss, 3. LSU, 7. You know, this group has come out in the second half and been dominant.
It has, and the only team, SEC team, that has outscored Alabama in the second half is Arkansas. That was 15-3, in favor of the Hogs. The Hogs, the only team that has outscored Alabama in the second half. Of course, Bama got the 24-21 win there. And you got to give Kevin still a lot of credit for the second half adjustments after the touchdown that LSU had. There was some personnel changes. You saw a bit more of Jihad Campbell in there. When Deontay Lawson went down, you saw a switch when Jalen Key went down. You put Malachi Moore back there at safety. You switched Terrion Arnold from corner back to nickel. You saw Trey Amos slide in there at corner, and that was a completely different look. A completely different look to where Jaden Daniels couldn't do much of anything. Logan Diggs had trouble finding running lanes. The pressure got after Jaden Daniels. And then the big one, Dallas Turner, the controversial hit there, which clean hit on my opinion. But of course, Coach Saban telling, Dallas Turner, sometimes you got to target your hit low, a little bit lower there, sometimes in the near future. But we saw a tipped ball by Dallas Turner that resulted in an interception from one Terrion Arnold. So you got to give Kevin still a lot of credit for that adjustment made there after halftime in the second half. And Arnold, in a funny, joking way, told the media afterwards, hey, if I told you what Kevin Steele told us in that locker room, I would not be able to do media anymore. So we already know the word, the language, the verbiage that probably Kevin Steele used there. But the main thing is the players got the message. They came out ready to go. They came out ready to battle there in the second half, and you saw a different performance. Jaden Daniels, who had 141 yards rush and a touchdown in the first half, only had 22 yards rush in the second half. So you saw the adjustment. You saw the improvement. We all saw why Kevin Steele was brought back to Tuscaloosa for his third stint on Coach Saban's staff. He knows how to get the attention of these guys when it matters most, especially in the second half of games against SEC marquee competition.
Yeah, it's just astonishing. That is definitely a trend when you look at 5 games like that, where it is just night and day from offense, from one half to another in regards to the defensive performance. And like you, I did not think that was unnecessary roughness. He did everything, Dallas Turner, to lower the shoulder and deliver a clean hit. Also, on the other unnecessary roughness, in terms of landing on the quarterback, I do not want quarterbacks to be driven into the ground either. But man, that is a difficult deal for these defensive players, Stephen, to ask them in full flight to shift their body position to not land on these quarterbacks.
I mean, they're football players, so they're not gymnasts. I mean, they're not gymnasts. And it's getting to a point where, are we going to have flag football in the SEC? I mean, Dallas did not launch with the crown of his helmet. He did not lead with the crown of his helmet. If the people watch the play, he actually hits Jaden Daniels in the chest pad. That's where he actually hits Jaden at. Now, of course, Coach Saban will say, see what you are hitting. And I know at times when you're a defensive player, you're playing with so much energy, you're trying to be proactive, you're trying to read and react, that maybe you don't always necessarily see what you hit. But I think in this instance, Dallas Turner saw exactly what he hit. He did not launch. He did not lead with the crown of his helmet. He hit Jaden Daniels right there in the chest pad. That was a clean hit. And at the very least, a 15-yard roughing the passer was called. You go back to last year when Bryce Young took a hit very similar, if not worse, against Tennessee, and nothing was called. There was no roughing the passer. There was nothing called. It was just, hey, he hit him, move on to the next play. So at least in this sense, Dallas Turner, not a dirty play by any sense of the imagination, of football play, and you at least did get the roughing the passer called.
The other portion of that is almost all these guys are pretty much in the same height range. They're 6'2", 6'3", in that range. And if you're running full speed at somebody, even if you don't dip or drop your helmets are going to probably collide to some degree. That's one thing. And then I also just think it's unreasonable to ask these defensive players rushing the passer to anticipate when the ball is going to be thrown so that they can hold up. They have to their job is to get to the quarterback as fast as possible and run full speed, and to ask them to stop on a dime and to pull up is just unreasonable in my eyes.
And not just that, Mark, you have to also look at, if they're trying to pull up, or if you pull up and hurt an ACL. What if you pull up and hurt an Achilles? I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, you're going to full force velocity, contortment. I know physics plays a role in this, but when you're doing all of this inertia movement and you try to force yourself to pull up with all that kinetic force there, you could pop an ACL, you could pop an Achilles, anything could happen. Now, I'm not a physics, chemistry major by any sense of the imagination. I just know what little the University of Alabama tried to teach me at that time, and as much as I can recollect from that time. But I'm just saying that if you're asking a defensive player who's going full force, trying to get to the quarterback to, hey, pull up, that defensive player is risking. If I pull up too quickly, do I tear something? Do I rupture something? Do I hurt something?
And many of the times they're so engaged with an offensive lineman or a back that's chipping, they may not even know when the ball's released exactly.
Right.
It's just a difficult thing to do. Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama's here to break down the Tide. They've got a date against Kentucky and Lexington coming up. You can catch Stephen's work, of course, in my own words, right here on YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 Central. Subscribe here to the Voice of College Football as well, and hit that like button. It helps the analytics right here on YouTube. All right, this matchup against Kentucky, I got to think that a lot of Tide fans are thinking, okay, LSU's out of the way, Texas A&M, Tennessee are out of the way, we're home free, Auburn's not that good this year, Kentucky's a mid-tier team at best in the SEC, but only a 10-point favorite in Lexington. Difficult place to play. We know Mark Stoops is one of the better coaches in college football. So Ray Davis having a nice season. This is no joke of an outfit. The Tide's going to have to go up there and take care of business.
They're going to have to. And what's funny, Mark, is on Monday, Coach Saban was asked about the last time he played Kentucky when he was at LSU. That 2002 Hail Mary game that was on Jefferson Pilot Sports. And the wind was blowing. They already dumped the Gatorade on the coach, and Marcus Randall throws a Hail Mary prayer to the wind. And out of nowhere, Devery Henderson comes down with the ball and scores. And Nick Saban goes, all I remember from that game, we didn't play great. They already put the Gatorade on the coach. Quarterback just drove the ball as far as he could, and somehow Devery Henderson came down with the football and scored. That's all I remember from that football game. But going to Lexington, it's a tough environment. Mark Stoops, he always has his guys playing tough, playing hard, playing physical. They're going to run the football. They've got some playmakers on the outside. They can do different things. 6-3 on the year. They are a tough football team. And Nick Saban knows he's going to get a whole different type of game from Kentucky. Against LSU, you were preparing for somewhat of a shootout. Against Kentucky, you know you're not going to get that type of a game. You're going to get an old school, in-your-face, pound down, slug it out, grind it out, that type of a matchup. So Saban is now preparing his guys to have that sort of mindset for this football game up there in Lexington. It's going to be fun to watch. 11 a.m. kickoff. So once again, a game where Tide fans are like, really? I have to get up. I have to get up 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning to sit through Bama, Kentucky. Yes, you do. So you get up, you get your morning coffee, whatever you're drinking there, your pastry. You get through that because it's going to be a good football game.
All right, Stephen, you mentioned the college football playoff rankings coming out for a second time on Tuesday night. Of course, the playoff committee took the rather conventional route and ranked Alabama behind Texas. Oregon was the top one-loss team. Of course, they had a narrow loss in Husky Stadium against Washington. Just a great football game. And of course, I've got to respect the head-to-head there. However, they didn't always honor the head-to-head, meaning Oklahoma was ranked behind Texas when they both had one loss, and Oklahoma had the win against Texas. Now the Longhorns barely survived, as you well know, against Kansas State in an overtime game in which maybe if there would have been different decisions made by Chris Kleiman, Kansas State wins that game versus Alabama, a very impressive second half against LSU. So the Tide does have an argument to make a move in these rankings.
The Tide does make an argument. It just comes down to, Mark, how does the committee see this? And was the Tide's performance against LSU enough to grab the committee's attention to have them go, okay, this Bama team's for real? We saw in the game, marquee, all eyes on them. Everybody was in Tuscaloosa. Could Bama take an undermanned LSU team and dominate them? And the committee saw in the second half, yes, this team can. Is it enough, though, to grab their attention fully? We will see tonight once those rankings come out. I think it does. I think it should. But we'll see tonight once those rankings come out. The people there in Grapevine, Texas, did they feel like Alabama did enough against LSU to warrant their attention to have them move up from that 8th spot?
Stephen, we appreciate you being here as always, and want to encourage everyone to check out Stephen's work on Touchdown Alabama and specifically on his show right here on YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 Central Time. That's In My Own Words. Stephen, good to see you. Enjoy the game this weekend, and shake out the cobwebs, get the pastry and the coffee ready, and be ready to go.
I will do so, Mark. I appreciate you, my man.